Hello, webheads, and welcome to another edition of Spider-Man, the animated series podcast. I'm your host, Alex Robson, and with me, as always, is my co-host, my brother, comic book artist, and the dairiest of daredevils. It's Mr. Will Robson. Say hello, Will.
Dairy with an I.
Yeah, dairy.
And a Y.
You love that dairy.
Yes, I am the dairy milk daredevil.
Call me Dairy Devil.
I'll do anything for, a Cadbury's chocolate bar.
How are you?
I'm alright. I'm just, if you're not, we're on YouTube right now, and I'm drawing a Mary Jane commission.
That's right. I've got every now and then, for all those that are joining us live, if I look to my left, don't think that I'm getting bored. I am just checking the stream, so anybody that wants to join us and join in the chat, feel free. But yeah, you're drawing Mary Jane today, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
That's really cool. So, well, that leads me into, how is the art life going?
I've been working on my own creator-owned book, because I'm not getting paid to do anything else.
Nope, it's really cool that you're doing that. You can't share anything yet, really, can you?
No, because I want to pitch it about and stuff, but I might start sharing screenshots of panels and things like that.
Yeah, for all our listeners, this is a book that he pitched me, and I don't know, however long ago, maybe a month ago or so.
2 or 3 months.
And he pitched me on it, and I was like, that just sounds lame. And he sent me a first draft, and I was like, yep, this confirms it. It is lame. And then he was quiet for a couple weeks. And then all of a sudden, he's like, will you do me a favor and read the second draft of this book? And I read it, and I've got to say, I was like, but now I want to be a part of this.
I'm sorry. If you didn't believe it from the get-go, then it's closed for business.
No, that's fair. That's only fair. So, yeah, that's it's cool what you're doing. Yeah, so art life is you doing your own stuff and still waiting on Marvel, but in the meantime, why not make the most of it and make some cool stuff? We've got our Patreon that obviously we plugged. I wonder how many times we're going to plug it this episode before people turn us off. Maybe do a quick plug and then play an ad.
Go ahead. Hey, did you know we have a Patreon? Oh my god.
I did not know. What's a Patreon?
Patreon is where you give people money, even though you get free content.
So, yeah, we've done a Patreon. It's really cool. It's patreon.com/Spider-Man TAS podcast. And if you sign up for any of the tiers, except for the first level, which is just our general support level, but any of the other tiers, you get exclusive content, which is our movie commentary reviews, which you might have heard a teaser of us doing the Spider-Man commentary. We watched Tobey Maguire and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man film, number 1. We're going to be moving on to number 2 next, and then completing the trilogy. And then it's going to be up to the Patreons, all of those that have subscribed so far. Thank you so much. It's really appreciated for me and my brother. It's really something right now which is great support, because we love doing this podcast. We love creating content. We love chatting with you guys, engaging, finding out what you want out of a Patreon. So we hope we obviously can bring all of what you want and get your money's worth. But yeah, we don't have jobs right now, so it's a huge help. So if anybody hasn't checked it out, check out our Patreon. You get loads of exclusive content, not just the movie commentary reviews, but loads of other
a monthly
content.
prize from me.
Yeah.
And this month is one of these puppies in box, signed by me, a Spawn baby figure, which I co-created with Todd McFarlane. Not that impressive or anything, so there you go.
No, who's Todd McFarlane? I don't even know who
I don't
he
know,
is.
bud.
But yeah, he's going to be doing monthly raffles. He's got signed comic book collections that he's done. He'll be doing some exclusive original art.
Yep, sketch cards and stuff. There's lots of stuff to win.
So that's pretty much available.
I thought that was just a good idea, because we're offering lots of extra content, which is nice, but even though my commissions are open, by the way, and you can just DM me on any social media or email me at robsonrequest@gmail.com. That's robsonrequest@gmail.com. There is still, stuff that I have that I'm happily willing to give away to create a good sort of fan base and keep the Patreon going and support us and support me and you.
Hell yeah. So if you haven't checked it out, please go and check out patreon.com/Spider-Man TAS podcast to see what's available to you and pick the tier that you like the look of. But if times are tough, because the world is fucking weird and it's just not something you can do, that's okay. We don't expect it. Your support can also be appreciated if you share the link around for others that may have not heard the podcast or have heard the podcast but don't know about it. But yeah, if you can do that, that's also greatly appreciated.
And if you just listen to it, don't do any of the stuff, that's fine as well.
That's also fine.
That's how I treat the majority of content in my life, so it's fine.
And we got some listeners in the chat right now. We've got Scott Holly and Joshua Alley, who are both
I look just like Scotty Holly.
They're both Patreon subscribers, so thank you both.
Thanks, guys.
For doing that this past week. We really appreciate it. And they said, just finished the Spider-Man commentary, top stuff. And we've got lots of emojis of thumbs up and
that's very nice.
A-OK and all of the good stuff. So yeah, appreciate that. All right. For me, I also was featured on another podcast recently. I've been cheating on you, Smythe.
What?
I was approached. It was random, but the podcast Into the Night, which is Night with a K because it's all about Moon Knight, the character. Into the Night podcast. Ray, the host of that podcast, approached me randomly saying, we are reviewing this Spider-Man cartoon episode. It's the latest cartoon, Spider-Man cartoon from Marvel. He said, I don't know if you've seen it. I hadn't. He said, great. We're going to review it live for our Patreon subscribers and then put it up in a week or so. So I believe what he said was that episode is going to be available sometime this week. So it's the 4th of August, 2020 today. When listeners will be listening to this outside of the live stream, it will be the 5th of August. So if you head to Into the Night podcast, my episode should be available either on the 5th of August or soon after that.
Cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was weird seeing an up-to-date Spider-Man cartoon.
Now, what Spider-Man cartoon is this? Because I remember I watched some of a Spider-Man cartoon, but maybe it's not even the new one anymore. Where
it's not the new one anymore.
He's approached by Nick Fury and stuff.
That's an old one. See, there's so many that have just had like a couple seasons and then died. But this one, yeah, it's Marvel's latest one. It is focused around Spidey. This episode had to do with Venom.
What's the animation look like? The art style?
It's okay. Do you know what? Like, it's not bad, but the characters and a lot of the sets look very two-dimensional. There's not, and I even said that, because they asked my opinion on what do you think of the way it looks. And it looks really flat. There's no shading of the faces. There's no different color textures. Everything's very flat, and it's quite anime style, but just very flat with colors.
What's the name of the show? I want to look up the art style.
It's called Marvel's Spider-Man, but there's quite a few of those. So just look up Marvel Spider-Man 2020, and you'll see some of them. A lot of the faces are the same. They've got the some square jaw with the pointy chin. It wasn't a bad episode. It was also, do you know how long the episode was? It was 45 minutes. I was like, what cartoon has 45 minutes in length? Are you listening to me, Smythe?
I am, yeah. 45 minutes in length. That's how long the cartoon was. That's a long
That's
time.
a lot, man. So
third season, so it's been going around since 2017.
Yeah, I just watched the third season, which is like the Venom Saga, episode 3, I believe I watched.
I'm not a big fan of that poster, but...
Yeah, it's definitely... And also, there was a lot of scenes where I was like, this doesn't feel Spider-Man. So it just made me feel real good to come back on this show and talk about the best Spider-Man cartoon of them all, Spider-Man the Animated Series, because I was watching this and I was like, man, there's so much missing from this that the animated series had, that if they just brought back with a better animation style, I've watched this cartoon.
I don't know, I just saw a couple of screenshots that look pretty cool. You're right, it is very sort of anime, I think, and I dig that. So I haven't seen any of it moving, but all I saw was one poster that I hated, which was like half Spider-Man's face, half Peter Parker's face, which looked awful. But all the other screenshots looked really cool, actually.
Well, we got people in the chat asking, is the show good? I would say the episode I watched, I was intrigued to watch the next episode, but it didn't drive me enough to find it and download it or find it on
Disney
YouTube
Plus?
or whatever. No, it's not. It's not on Disney Plus, which I was surprised about.
Is that because they're like cutting ties with the Spidey stuff?
I don't know, because it is Sony owned as well. But then Disney owns the rights to the cartoons, I think. I don't know, so I'm not going to speculate too much. But it was okay. I will say that I definitely started cracking jokes, and I wasn't paying attention as much because it didn't have my attention all the way through. And 45 minutes is a long time for an animated episode, and it was part 1 of 3 of this like Venom saga where they
What
basically
did Venom look like?
he looked okay. Venom infected Kurt Connors at one point, which was kind of cool because then it like grew his arm back and it became
His
like,
arm back. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then it became Kurt Connors Kurt Connors Venom to then be Lizard Venom.
That sounds dope.
It does sound dope, and if it was a 20-minute episode, I would have been like, this is great. But there was a lot of fluff. There was a lot of build up. There was like robot dogs that Spider-Man was fighting at one point that reminded me of the Predator dogs from that Predators movie.
Oh yeah.
There was a lot of story, and there's also a character that's like Ned from the MCU, but he's not as cool as Ned, not as funny as Ned, and he also looks like he's Dr. Octopus's son. And the guys didn't know if that was true or not because they review Moon Knight, right? They don't review Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So this is the only reason they're watching it is because Moon Knight shows up in this saga. But yeah, it's okay. I mean, if you're looking for new Spidey content, check it out. I mean, you could end up liking it.
Is it very kid friendly?
Yes, it's very kid friendly.
See, now this is where like the episode we're going to talk about today. It started off like I was like, this is not kid friendly. Peter Parker's been framed. He's going to jail. He almost gets murdered at one point, and I was just like, this is what I want. As a kid, I loved this adult theme. Like that's what I want.
Yeah. It's one of those things that watching the episode today, I was like, I feel so much better being back in the Spider-Man the Animated Series camp, and I'm looking forward to reviewing the episode today. So we'll move on to news and stuff so we can get to it. I'll check the chat real quick. Someone says, I see Spidey as a PlayStation exclusive character for the new Avengers game.
I saw that.
Well, that's part of my news, so thanks. Spoiler alert, he is, yeah. That's really cool, actually. And it makes sense because guess who owns PlayStation? Sony.
Yeah, that's why the Spider-Man game is exclusively on the PlayStation.
Yeah. And we got a question, do you prefer Spectacular Spider-Man? I watched most of that show. I prefer it over the one I've just watched, but I do not prefer it over Spider-Man the Animated Series, for sure. Yeah. We get asked that question a lot, don't we? I think
it has a very big fan base, the Spectacular.
Yeah, it was the first Spidey cartoon to really get close to the animated series. It was the first one to get close to the animated series
I mean, I don't mean to be cruel because I know a lot of people work hard on this stuff, but in my opinion, it was the first, to me, good Spider-Man cartoon since Spider-Man the Animated Series.
Yes, it was. It was a bit...
Not a cash grab, because I feel like I respect. No. Look, you got Spider-Man. He's your character. Chuck him out there. Kids buy a lot of his content. Why not?
Yeah.
But it seemed like it was one of the first times where people behind it were passionate, which they were about.
Do you know what Spectacular Spider-Man show is to me? We love Batman the Animated Series as well, don't we? And it's always the best Batman show, just like this is the best Spider-Man show that we review. And then Spectacular came out, and remember that cartoon that came out a few years after the animated series of Batman, just called The Batman?
Mm-hmm.
Remember we used to watch The Batman?
Mm-hmm.
That show actually is a lot like Spectacular Spider-Man for me. It has some good
similar
episodes,
art styles as well.
Similar art styles. It has a good flow to it. It took itself seriously. It wasn't as good as its predecessor, but it's still good, and I still would recommend watching.
I'm gonna make some noise real quick.
Make some noise!
Make some noise!
Alright, well, let's make some noise over some Kingpin and Smythe right now, shall we?
Okay.
Alright, so we got our new Kingpin and Smythe scenario written in by Gary Hawkins. That just sounds like a football player at like an American high school.
Number 32, Gary Hawkins!
Yeah. Comes out, he's the quarterback. Gary Hawkins has said his scenario is Kingpin decides to start his own YouTube channel and become an influencer.
Influencer, okay.
So I can see him being like, Smythe, I'm tired of being in the limelight as the Kingpin. I want fame of another kind. I want to stream on the interwebs and be the most famous of influencers.
I want to be the fat, bald version of Justin Bieber, Smythe.
Do you think he'd be like, the word influencer, he'd take it too far? He's like, I want to influence everyone.
I want to bring the cravat back. I've been trying for 50 years, Smythe. I had one as a baby in the 60s, and I've had one ever since. It's long overdue.
So he'd ask Smythe for his help, wouldn't he? he would be like, Spide, I need your technical support. He's like, sir, I don't know anything about YouTube. I've only been working on Spider's layers. Nonsense. Set me up a channel, get a camera, put me in a nice decorated modern looking room, and let's stream to the masses.
What type of YouTuber are you going to be, sir?
I was thinking, well, I could do a food channel, because
Ah,
you know
yes.
I love food, Spide.
Yes, I'll order takeout and I'll do what the kids are calling a mukbang, where you sit down and eat as much food as possible. I think I could win the trophy for the mukbang. A mukbang medal, yes, that's quite. Because they all just give up after about 2 hamburgers. Quite pathetic, really. So yes, I'll do a mukbang to start. And I always thought a mukbang was something completely different, if I have to be honest. You know, when you have quite the mucky bang, when you both haven't showered, and you each a bit poggy, and it's been a long day, and you just have a mukbang. You know what I'm talking about, mate?
I do, sir. We've had that many a night.
All we have is
especially
mukbang,
after
sir.
a few brandies, sir.
Yes, I would have called it. I think that's called a muck fuck, though. Actually, anyway, yeah, we're getting off track here. It's fine, yeah. I could do some. Yes, I'll do some mukbangs. What else can I do? I'll review cravats. Yes.
Yeah, he could do unboxing of cravats.
Ah,
like
yes.
This one is green. It's like, yeah.
I'll never wear it.
Chucks it away.
Give it. Send it to Norman as a Christmas present.
This one blue, I'll never wear this one, and this one is a shade of purple. Okay, that's acceptable. That goes in the collection.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Maybe you could do reaction videos, like reaction videos. to the
Watching
popular-
like Lose Fringe Spider-Man get his butt kicked. Like,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, he's just watching Spider-Man movies and skips to the parts where he gets beaten up.
And I will also be putting up lots of videos of little cute crime running around being sweet.
So, do you think he would gain popularity? Because he's such a large man.
Absolutely.
Such a cat. Right? Like, I would tune into that channel.
yeah. What would his YouTube channel be called?
I was thinking of his handle name. I don't know about the name of the channel, but his handle name would be the Kingpin, but the I's are exclamation points. So it'd be like the Kingpin.
Yeah,
with
because that's so
exclamation-
like old-fashioned now. That makes sense.
What that was my username when I used to play Counter-Strike, mate. It's still relevant today. All the kids are still playing Half-Life, aren't they?
Except for when Kingpin plays Counter-Strike, he plays it for real. Like, he controls, like, drones and just kills loads of people. I'm just taking over a small village, Spade. I don't know what the name of his channel would be. Like, Kicking It with the King? I have no
Kicking
idea.
it with the king.
I can just imagine it when it's starting. He's like, hey, all the kinky followers. Kinky?
Hey, all you
It's like-
kinky followers.
you know.
You kinky pinkies.
Kinky pinkies. I like that. Hey, all my kinky pinkies.
Hello, all my kinky pinkies.
You could go like, it's your boy Fisk here.
It's
For
ya
another-
boy. W to the R to the S to the K. That's Whisk. I have dyslexia. This is a dyslexia video.
Oh, I like Whisk. I like that as like a little, like, alternative name. Like, it's Whisk here. Bringing you the hottest news in fashion of cravats.
In fashion and muckfucks. I mean muckbangs.
Watch me try on the wealthiest and most expensive of clothes whilst I eat 30 hamburgers and mukbang all over this piece. Are you ready?
Yeah, and
He
review expensive scotches.
He gets
That's exclusive content on my Patreon now. Did you know we have a Patreon?
Also, naked pictures of Smythe are available on my Patreon as well.
So,
And we've also got the plans to the Spider Slayers. Check us out.
Smythe had his own YouTube channel, but it would just be like really boring.
it's like today we're going to review the new 2020 CP unit IG2 with 4 gigabytes of RAM and processing power of 8 gigahertz. Yeah, let's review it, shall we?
Kingpin's in the background, like,
and it's him just like, oh, and holding up like little PCs and things.
I would love if he brought like Smythe on his show as well. He's like, "This is my boyfriend. I mean, my assistant, Smythe. Say hello, Smythe. Hello, Smythe. Smythe, that's not funny. The kids are not.
Get out. You've
yeah,
instantly ruined it.
I would love to see a Kingpin channel. I would subscribe instantly, and I would eat up that content.
I would have the most subscribers of anybody.
What if he plays a Spider-Man video game, but all he does is just jump Spider-Man off buildings and lets him splat to the floor? Like, he just kills him constantly. He's like, it never gets old, Smythe. Yeah, I'd watch that. All right, that's Kingpin does a YouTube
Does
channel.
a mug fuck.
Does a mug fuck. Mug fuck is definitely going to be something we're doing it from now on. All right, so if you want to write in your Kingpin and Smythe scenarios, you can certainly do that. You can write us at staspodcast@gmail.com, or you can visit us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter by keyword searching Spider-Man, the animated series podcast. You'll get all the up-to-date news, and you'll be also find our Patreon there, or you can find our Patreon at patreon.com/Spider-Man TAS podcast. Also, be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts, as it helps us wall crawl up the charts and attract both new listeners and guests. And finally, you can follow Will on his social media pages to see his artwork, stay up to date what he's working on now, and get a glimpse into the workday of a comic book artist. Will, where can our listeners find you?
Anywhere at RobsonINK on the internet, and that's INK. RobsonINK.
That's right. All right, so I'm going to go into some news now before we move on to our episode review. So we've got Spider-Man will join the Marvel's Avengers game, but we already knew that. So I'll skip over that one. Have you heard about the Sandman Netflix show that's happening?
No, I thought Marvel was... Oh, Sandman is in...
Neil Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman's Sandman. Oh, I thought you just meant the villain Sandman. Someone's like, I got a great show for you. Like, it's going to be weird. It's just the Sandman.
No Spider-Man.
No Spider-Man.
And
Not attached to the Marvel Universe at all.
No, Sandman is in the DC Comics Sandman.
Well, I've never read anything Sandman.
That's all right. I mean, I have. I remember reading it a long time. I think I was like 14.
I remember you reading it a long time. You were like, bro, have you read Sandman, bro?
It was good. I really enjoyed it. There was
Bro,
lots
it's really
of
good,
things.
bro.
I enjoyed that book. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the show. It's moving along with production.
Bro, Batman's in it at one point, bro. You should read it.
I did say that. I almost said it now, but I was like, I've said that so many times. Batman's in it. All right. Neil Gaiman is going to be the narrator of the show.
Of course he is.
So that's cool. Kat Dennings is going to play Death. Now, Kat Dennings is in the Thor movie. She's the one that goes, meow meow, when she sees, like, Thor's hammer.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about? She's been in, like, other comedy movies.
She's in the 40-year-old version. She's the daughter.
Yeah, she's the daughter.
That's how I know her, and that's it.
Yeah, that's true. So she's going to play Death, so that's interesting. And I've read the book. I think that's a pretty good choice. Taryn Edgerton is going to play John Constantine. Now, Taryn Edgerton...
Oh, okay.
You know who he is, right? Kingsman?
Yep.
Yep, so he's going to play Constantine. I think that's a
Everyone
great...
wants that dude to be Wolverine.
Yeah, I know. I'm not so sure about that. I mean, he'd be alright, but I don't see him... I definitely see him more as a Constantine, don't you? I think that's a good choice.
Yeah.
Constantine.
That's the thing.
Okay.
Colin Farrell should be Constantine.
Yeah, he should be. We got Michael Sheen as Lucifer. That's a great choice. Michael Sheen is so good. Do you know
Who's
Michael
Sheen again?
He's the vampire in all the underworld. No, not the vampire. The werewolf and all the underworld.
Yeah, I've
films.
never seen any of those.
He was in IMDb. Is gonna tell me because he's been in loads of things.
I know the name.
Yeah, he's a really great British actor. He was in Frost Nixon. That's right. He was in The Queen. He looks a lot like the guy who plays Gollum, but he's not.
Oh, he's in the other Neil Gaiman show.
Yes, he's in Angels and Demons.
Yeah, and he's the bad guy in Nativity Scene 2 or 1 or something like that.
The highlight of his career, I'm sure. So speaking of Gollum, Andy.
He's
Serkis...
he's one of the vampires in.
Yeah, that's right, Twilight.
Yeah.
He's the main vampire. So I mentioned Gollum before. Andy Serkis is also in this show. Andy Serkis is going to play Matthew the Raven, who's a really cool character. I think it's a good choice. And do you want to know who's going to play Lord Morpheus, the Sandman himself?
Who?
James McAvoy, which is... At first I was like, really? But then I was thinking about like darker roles that he's played.
Split, right?
He's Split, yes.
I think he'd create... Speaking of Daredevil, by the way, seeing him bald, he'd be a great Bullseye.
Oh, yeah, he would be.
He's got a sinister face when he's bald.
Yeah. So anyway, that show is happening, and I'm looking forward to it. And it's got a pretty cool cast. There's lots of other people in it as well.
I wonder if my friends in the... I won't say who it is, but there's an actor that was on Neil Gaiman's other show on Amazon, which is The New Gods, I think it's called.
Right.
And someone who I went to university with is now a professional actor in Hollywood, and it just shocked me when I saw him on there. You know, props to him. Like, I worked with him on my final film at university as well.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
So he's now in the big league. I've pictures of him hanging out with Ian McShane. And I'm like, good for you, man. Like, great job. Like, because he was the best in the class. That's why I hired him for my movie. Because I have excellent taste in this stuff, man. So I wonder if he'll be hired, because I know that I think he's friendly with Neil Gaiman now.
Oh, that's cool. So we'll see what happens with that show, but I'm looking forward to it. Sandman's great. They just did an Audible version of Sandman as well that you can download. So lots of Sandman coming at you, whether you like it or not. We got a question.
I'll give it a go.
Yeah, I think you should. I think you'll like it. Question in the chat: what do you think about the current state of Star Wars?
I keep seeing these rumors that I know that are definitely not true about George Lucas coming in and they're going to scrap all the new films and he's going to reboot them.
No, that's not.
Look, I'm well up for that. That sounds like a lot of fun. And
yeah, they never will. I mean, look, the Star Wars that just came out, the latest 3 episodes, they're not for us. No. I did dig them, but they're somebody else's Star Wars now.
They are. They're you know what? The amount of amazing stuff I've seen of just little girls getting into Star Wars and loving Rey, and dressing up, like, that makes me really happy. Like, that's just nice. Me too. They have representation of a nice character for them. And I'm very happy for that.
I went to a drive-in, and I went to go see Star Wars, and loads of families were there at the drive-in, and everybody was encouraged to dress up. And all of the little girls were Rey. Yeah. Every single one of them. There was a Princess Leia or two, but most of them were Rey. And that's great. So, they're not for me. I dig parts of it. Last Jedi, I would say, is my preferred one out of the 3, and I know that's controversial, but I think it's a good film.
I think Star Wars has broken my heart so many times that I'm over it, but the number one thing that made me over the new films was The Mandalorian. It was so good, I was like, okay, I'm getting good Star Wars from somewhere, so I'm happy.
So I think the current state ain't so bad, you know what I mean? Like, it's not the worst place it could be. It's not the best.
No, we just got the conclusion to Clone Wars, which is some of the best Star Wars I've ever seen.
Yeah, we have. That was amazing. Yeah, there's loads of good stuff. It's just the latest trilogy. I even like Solo, which people hate. I thought Solo was fun.
Solo's fine, yeah.
And then, Rogue One, amazing
Rogue
film.
One was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so that's great.
I'm just happy we have more Star Wars. Like, that's what I'm happy about.
We got great stuff coming. The Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Oh, by the way, they're casting for a young Luke and a young Leia in the Obi-Wan show. Like an 8-year-old Luke and an 8-year-old Leia. So that's going to be interesting to try and see what they do with that.
Yeah, I'm up for the adventures of Kid Luke and Leia.
Yeah, so that would be cool. And also, I'm up for this Obi-Wan show with Ewan McGregor. I'm so down with it. I think it's going to be great. So
I'm so down for Mandalorian Season 2 now that I've seen Robert Rodriguez is doing an episode. Ooh, Lord, I love me some Robert Rodriguez.
To be honest, the answer to the question is, what do you think of the current state of Star Wars? I think it's actually pretty fucking great right now.
I think there's always room to be better, but The Mandalorian is so good that I can't complain just on that one show.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Of the last episode, we chatted about Ray Fisher, who plays Cyborg. Remember, you made that tweet about Joss Whedon's behavior on the set of Justice League?
Yeah.
Just to share with you the specifics, what he said about Whedon was gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable. That was what he said.
Okay.
So that's a lot. Gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable. He also added that producers John Berg and Jeff Johns enabled this behavior. So Whedon has refused to comment, and Johns has been silent as well. Ray Fisher has also said that he intends to reveal more when he's able to, but most likely NDAs are what's holding him back right now from saying more. But he's intending to reveal more details about what happened on the set
Well,
of
I'm
Justice League.
currently listening to, with my wife, this fascinating podcast. I wish I knew the guy's name because he's a very famous English author and documentary maker. Documentary, why did I say it like that?
Documentary!
He's basically like Louis Theroux. It's the other one that's not Louis Theroux. There's a bit of a northern accent. Anyway, someone out there knows exactly what I'm talking about. Listen to his podcast.
This is like an old man telling a story with all these useless details.
He's like Louis Theroux, you know? Anyway, listen to this podcast, and it's all about cancel culture. And it's been really fascinating where he's gone around and interviewed people that have experienced being cancelled. And what I can see from it is it's very fascinating because we're all so quick to jump on situations. And I'm not saying don't believe everything you hear immediately, but it is interesting to like hear a whole story of what happened, exactly why it happened. But this is from the look. When it comes to things like sexual abuse charges, disgusting immediately. Like I always, some reason in my heart, the moment I hear sexual abuse charges, I always assume they're true. I don't know why. Like I just feel like that's just a heavy thing where I'm like, how could you even make something up like that? Which some people do, and that's fucked up. Anyway, that's a tangent. This is cancel culture when it comes to like someone making an outdated joke from like 15 years ago that's brought up and they're cancelled, or this, that, and the other, or they make it just a common mistake and they're misinterpreted and they're cancelled. And this is why, and just like I talked about on the last episode, how I've read articles where people were stating opinions and stuff that I actually knew information about, and they were completely wrong, and then the rest of the world agrees with them. It's just like, okay, now I got to learn that I just don't know what the fuck the situation is at all, and to make an opinion,
more information.
There's a human need to be like, that's what that is. We've put our finger on that. Problem solved. Over. I think we're so quick to just be like, Joss Whedon is an abusive fucker. Fuck Joss Whedon, cancel him. Boom, done. That's exactly what happened. I think that's very poisonous and toxic, and I just think that more information needs to come out. And I don't think that. What I'm trying to say is I'm not going to give an opinion on this stuff anymore because I wasn't there. I don't know anything about this. I'm just reading an article. I'm reading two people's opinions and stuff, and it's not fair for me to have an opinion on this.
No, I'm not. I'm not bringing up to have an opinion.
I know you're not. I'm just trying to state how I feel about this stuff. And some people say, well, you know, if you sit on the sidelines, that's as bad as like other stuff. And anyway, that's just my point of view.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, there's not too much left to say on it. He did have a new comment, which is basically saying, I know the risks associated with speaking out against this behavior, but this is basically the necessary trouble that's come about it. It's accountability is more than entertainment. Like you had, you know, how you had the accountability, and then you've got the is greater than, you know, the greater than symbol. He put accountability is greater than entertainment. So he's sticking to it, and you know, not saying sticking to it in the sense of he's pushing a false narrative, but someone staring.
I don't think he is. I just want to know exactly what the reason why that he's considered. Look, which James Bond is it where he swims with sharks? That director said, "Oh, there's not real sharks." He chucked in the water and he got a shot. A natural reaction of Sean Connery going, "Oh my fuck," because there's a shark, because he chucked him in the water with a real fucking shark. That's fucking insane. Yeah. Like, that is insane, and the guy should have been prosecuted for that, but people always go off of being like, he's a creative genius, and like, that's the way, you know, artists have this stigma of being like a bit wacky and shit like that. Like, but when if you try, imagine that in 2020, if Joss Whedon chucked that guy in a shark tank with real sharks in it, yeah, fuck that guy. That's fucking insane. Yeah. I don't know what this abusive stuff. Anyway, now I sound like I'm defending him. I'm not defending him at all. Let me make this clear. And I have no defense. I don't know anything about the situation. Blah, I'm done. I'm spitting in a hole.
No, it's fine. You stated how you feel, and I totally get that. And that's a good stance to take, man. I believe everything I'm reading about this, and I'm taking in the comments, I am certainly not taking a side. It's newsworthy for one. It's also if there is bad behavior, then I hope it stops.
Me too. Exactly. If Joss Whedon is being a prick and the stuff he's doing is obviously not in the level of chucking someone into a shark tank, but maybe emotionally chucking them into a shark tank, yeah, that's fucked up. But
I like that, emotionally chucking someone into a shark tank. That's how you feel sometimes. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Good analogy, good sir. So moving on then to some other news. Dave Bautista has spoken about how he wants to play Bane in a Batman movie and has auditioned for the role in the past. Someone tweeted him saying, please say that you're going to be Bane.
Well, I wonder if it's because that article I talked about where it's like Dave Bautista is Bane and it was just a Photoshop picture of him.
Yeah, no,
I know which one that I will say.
But he did go into Warner Brothers because he spoke on Twitter saying, tried this and sadly didn't work. So he tried to get into the Batman as Bane. So he responded to somebody's tweet. I think he'd be an amazing Bane.
I think it'd be the most perfect cast, one of the most perfect casted choices of all time.
I totally
agree.
He
is of, I don't know what his ethnicity is, but I know that it's Batista. He has a Spanish, Latino / Mexican / any of that stuff. He has that in him. And I want luchador Bane and smart Bane, like, hello, I will break you, Batman, like a you are. That's Dave Bautista's voice. When you think of the animated series, like that is Dave Bautista. Same way he was in the James Bond film. He was a bit more of a mindless Bane in that one, but absolutely perfect. Yeah,
he is a bit more of a mindless Bane in that because he only said one word, which was "shoot" as he was pulled off the train. Yeah. No, I think it's perfect casting. I would love to see that. All right, we got.
Sorry, an ex-professional wrestler playing Bane. It just makes sense.
It does. It's perfect, and he's built like Bane, looks like Bane. Can you imagine him with? He looks just like Bane. Yeah, I'm totally down for that. And imagine when he pumps venom into his body, the acting that Dave Bautista could bring to that, it would be really intense. Yeah. All right, so we got some Mandalorian news, some more Star Wars stuff. Giancarlo Esposito, who obviously is from Breaking Bad fame, Gus, he has said Season 2 will delve into Moff Gideon and the Dark Saber's past.
Cool.
So I'm totally down to see more of that. I'm excited.
He's one of my favorite actors. I love everything he does.
So do I. He's so damn
good. He's the new villain in the next Far Cry game. He plays like a dictator. Why am I saying words weird? A dictator. Is it dictatorial? If you're a dictator,
yes,
and you're living in a dictatorial world, or am I just making up a word?
You're living in a dictatorship.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, he's a dictator in a dictatorship in the new Far Cry game. It looks pretty cool.
Is he filming?
And it's just the way he speaks. He's like, "I am El Presidente," and it's like him smoking a cigar. And one day you will be El Presidente, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I don't even like Far Cry games, but I'm in."
Is he going to be shooting a documentary whilst he's doing this?
Documentary in my dictatorship.
Some Kevin Smith news. Kevin Smith has announced he's doing a Green Hornet animated series.
Okay.
So I've never been a massive fan of Green Hornet. I know definitely from the 60s, like the Batman, the Green Hornet shows were loved. And then obviously Seth Rogen did that movie, which I never thought was good. Did you ever see that movie with Seth Rogen as the Green Hornet? It was the
first outing of Christoph Waltz out of
Oh yeah, that's
Bastards.
right.
And
he was the bad guy.
And I feel like what a poor outing for him. I remember anything about him. The only thing I remember about the villain was he trying to be like funny or something like that? Was he trying to make a joke? He's like, was that funny or something like that?
I think you're right.
He made some interesting choices in that movie, but no, that movie's not for me.
Maybe that would be part of our Patreon movie commentary reviews. We watch that and just completely go down memory lane on that one. So other news, Boys Season 2 is coming in September. I saw the trailer. I know you don't watch trailers, so I won't give anything away. But it looks fucking great, and I love that show.
It's a great show.
It's a great show.
It's one of the only shows you've recommended to me that I like.
I'm really looking forward to it coming back. Some other news as well. David Ayer, the director of Suicide Squad, has revealed an alternative scene in Suicide Squad that had some additional footage where, you know the scene where Joker is laying in a circle of knives in that film?
Yes.
Well, there's a dead girl in a red chair in the corner. And apparently, that whole scene circulates around the fact that Joker, because Harley was in jail, Joker was hiring girls to be his new Harley, but because they couldn't live up to being like Harley, he would kill them. And I was like, that's instantly animated series. And I love that.
Very Joker, and I actually like that. That would have been good.
That would have been great. I would have loved that. To him dressing them up as Harley and be like, telling them how to say things and how to act, and they can't cut it, and he'll kill them. That's so Joker. I love it. It's claimed that James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is significantly delayed now, and it also sees word about the possibility of using a CGI Luke Skywalker, which would feature Mark Hamill in the role. So I don't know what they're playing at there, but that is, once again, we're talking about rumors. But there's from a few news sites I've seen this, so it's not just like someone randomly making this up.
Yeah, but what does this site actually? What does the article say?
It says
who has said this?
It says sees the word about the possible use of a CGI Luke Skywalker featuring Mark Hamill.
Yes, but who has made this claim?
Below to superhero sites I go to.
No, in the actual article itself on these sites, who has claimed that this is happening?
I don't know. It's all reported.
Because I'm getting sick of this fucking news. It's pissing me off. It really does. It's like, I don't want to hear someone's like fun theory about something. Fuck off.
Well, it's always fine to talk about it. Why does it matter? We talk about.
What's the point of talking about something that may never happen because some dickhead just invented it to sell an article?
Well, I'm trying to find news here, so we have time for the show, you see, because I'm running out of news because COVID is taking up all my news.
I got news for you. Read the fucking article.
Well, I did. That's the excerpt I took from...
No, sorry, I didn't mean you. I just mean people.
I was going to say, you're being very... I feel attacked.
Yeah, I guess I've just been grumpy recently.
You are very grumpy. I feel like I'm going to send out a tweet being like, I was abused by my
I don't like people that assume things about people. I don't like people that just read headlines on articles. I especially don't like people that just make bullshit up to sell it as an article. And I hate people in general. Fuck people. If you listen to this, fuck you.
And there goes all the...
And make sure you sign up for our Patreon, where I can send you a personal fuck you.
Please don't. For any new listeners that have just chimed into this episode, I swear he's not this much of a dickhead.
Yeah.
He's getting older.
You know what? I've read a lot of news today. I think that's why I'm upset. All that whole Trump shit and stuff. Fuck that piece of shit.
Someone said he's a grumpy Smythe in the chat.
Yeah,
he's
a grumpy Smythe.
I got some more chat here. If you could create a mashup of a Spider-Man and Star Wars character, who would it be?
A mashup of a Spider-Man and Star Wars character?
It's got to be a villain from Spider-Man.
That would work well in Star Wars.
I mean, maybe...
Uncle Ben Kenobi, of course.
Oh, I love it! Uncle Ben Kenobi! I'm not even going to try and top that. I love that. Just, Peter, with great power comes great responsibility.
And great male grooming.
Josh Whaley says, out of all the Spidey suits, which one has been your favourite?
What, on screen?
He doesn't specify. I personally prefer Scarlet Spider, he said. So I
he's
guess...
just talking about in general. I love Scarlet Spidey. My favourite Spider-Man suit is the 90s one with all like the huge logo that goes all the way down to his feet. And he's got the web shooters on his wrists. I just think that's just my childhood.
That's Ben Reilly.
Yeah.
Mine's OG Spider-Man suit. I hate to sound boring, but there's just nothing brings me.
You know what? When it comes to Spider-Man, there's nothing wrong with that, bud. No. It is a classic costume. It's a bitch to draw. You see how... I mean, everybody watching now, I've been drawing this suit for ages, inking it.
Yeah. When I was watching the episode today, I was like, I just love seeing Spider-Man in his Spidey suit. So, yeah. Green Day saying, hey, hey, boys.
Hey, Mr. Green Day.
And calling you a grumpy Smythe. All right, so, shall we get on with our review?
Yeah.
Get more enthusiasm behind it.
Yeah, let's do it. Wow!
Thank you. All right, so we are reviewing the episode Framed. Do you have your Daredevil cast for the MCU with you?
I do.
Ooh, okay, good.
You probably won't like my choice.
I don't know if you'll like mine either, but okay, just for everybody that's joining us, we cast characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe when they show up in Spider-Man the Animated Series, if they don't exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Currently, there is no Daredevil because that show was cancelled, and it was a great show, but it's cancelled. So, who did you cast for a Daredevil in the MCU?
Look, I want ginger representation back in the Marvel Universe.
I agree.
Pronto. I want a red-headed Matt Murdock. So, you know, when it was like 10 to 15 years ago, everyone thought that what's his name, the guy who played Dexter, was a great choice.
Yes.
And he was a great choice, but I think he's too old for the role now. Mm-hmm. So I have someone here that's young. Well, actually, he's not that young. He's 37, but that's fine. He looks young. I think it's going to be a weird choice because you only know him from the recent Star Wars movies. But I've seen him in tons of other stuff where he's played a good guy, and he's a really nice, approachable guy. He was in Black Mirror. There's an episode where someone loses their husband, so they get this in-the-post clone of him and grow him in the bathtub.
Wait, he's not in Star Wars, is he?
Yes, he is. He's the captain that gets stupidly shot in the third one.
Yeah, and he's in About Time.
Yeah, his name is Domhnall Gleeson.
Domhnall Gleeson.
Yeah, I'll hold his picture up there. Now look at this guy. Picture him with red glasses on, a bit more jacked, training and becoming
Domhnall
Daredevil.
Gleeson's a good choice.
And
That's
you can see him.
Pretty good choice.
He's got the classic long Matt Murdock hair as well.
Yeah, he does. You know what, man? I'm going to tell you who I chose, and he's more of a blonde, if I'm honest, more of a strawberry blonde.
You can get away with blonde with Daredevil. I mean, he is blonde in this episode.
He's
blonde in the really good John Romita Jr. and Frank Miller book, but to me, he's redhead, and I like that because it's representation for redheads. And I know I'm a white guy, and I have representation in every fucking corner of my fucking life, but it's nice to see a guy with red hair. That's all I'm saying.
I chose Chris Pine.
Chris Pine,
Star Trek. He is, or Wonder Woman. You know, Star Trek. He's Captain Kirk. I mean, he looks Matt Murdock-esque because Matt Murdock's a good-looking dude, right? Like, he's not an ugly dude at all.
No.
He gets a lot of attention from the ladies because he's a good-looking dude. He's just blind, which he uses to his advantage all the time. I gotta say though, thinking about Chris Pine in the suit, he would look great. But Donald Gleeson, if you put some muscle on him, he's very much Matt Murdock-y.
I just see him being Matt Murdock, and I could see inside his head being like, you know.
But how would he be in a courtroom conducting as Matt Murdock?
I think
can see
the
Chris
lawyer
Pine
version is really good because I could see him being the guy that's always looking one direction with the glasses on. I feel like Matt Murdock isn't. I wouldn't say he's a pretty boy. I'd say Chris Pine is a very everyone is a symmetrical.
Chris Pine, yeah, he's a handsome man.
That's what I'm saying, and I don't see Matt Murdock as that because Matt Murdock is more of I guess the only word I could think of, which I know is not appropriate, but he's more of a player. Like, he can get women, but I don't think Matt Murdock's like, you instantly see him, like, that's the most handsome man I've ever seen. Which is what I see when I see Chris Pine. I'm like, that man is a supermodel, you know?
Yeah. Okay, no, I'm with you on this. I can definitely see Donald Gleeson in the role. The more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm like, yeah, I'm up for that. So, okay, I'll take that. I like that choice. We'll consider that our Daredevil for our MCU in our little lives.
Really good.
All right, so this episode was released on September 21st, 1996. It was written by Cynthia Harrison, Brooks Wachtel, and Mark Hoffmeyer. Two of those three writers we've interviewed. So if you go back to previous episodes where we interviewed Brooks and we interviewed Mark, you hear all about their tales from Spider-Man the Animated Series and also loads of other great shows and pieces that they were involved in. So yeah, go check out those previous episodes if you haven't heard them. We've done some shout-outs for Cynthia Harrison in the past on a previous episode that her and Brooks wrote together because her and Brooks like to team up quite a bit when it comes to writing.
Brooks and Dunn.
Cynthia and Brooks wrote quite a few episodes together for X-Men the Animated Series as well, which he talks about in our interview with him. This episode features voice actors Christopher Daniel Barnes as Spider-Man and Peter Parker, Linda Gary as Aunt May, Ed Asner as J. Jonah Jameson, Rodney Salisbury as Robbie Robertson, Sarah Valentine as Mary Jane, Michelle Barrett as Anna Watson, Edward Albert as Matt Murdock and Daredevil, Nick Jameson as Richard Fisk, Roscoe Lee Brown as the Kingpin, Amy Hill as Agent Susan Choi, Dawn Lewis as Detective Terry Lee, and Gary Imhoff as Harry Osborn, who didn't really have a line in this, but he was featured.
Harry Osborn was in it?
That's what it said on IMDb, but I always do.
Maybe he was in like the court. Was he in the courtroom?
Yeah, I think he was in the courtroom. But I'm not sure if he said anything, that was dialogue. Maybe he was chiming in on people yelling or something. I don't know.
Maybe he did some dialogue and they cut it out or something.
Yeah, so honorable mentions for Edward Albert, who plays Matt Murdock and Daredevil. Sadly, he passed away at only the age of 55, and that was in 2006, so quite young. But he was in many animated shows.
Was he the Grey Ghost in Batman the Animated Series?
No, that was Adam West.
Oh, of course it was.
But he was in many animated shows, lots of TV shows.
Is he the voice of the Labrador in Homeward Bound?
No.
I just, he's got a recognizable voice, and I'm trying to pinpoint it.
I like your comparison, though, to the Grey Ghost, because he was quite Adam West in this role, wasn't he? He's like, I'm Daredevil.
Yeah, which honestly, my personal taste, that's not Daredevil to me.
No, that's fair. I get that. And then also Amy Hill, who plays...
I'm Daredevil. I pull.
Amy Hill, who plays Agent Susan Choi. I didn't know this, but when I saw her picture, I was like, oh my god, I know who that is. She's in loads of things. You know, Next Friday. You know the Friday movies.
Yeah.
Do you remember there was a next door neighbor called Miss Kim?
No.
Oh really? She's in loads of stuff. Let me see if I can. Here, can you see her? Do you recognize her at all?
No.
Oh, she's in loads of things. So she was in this. She was Miss Kim in Next Friday. She was Sue in 50 First Dates and many other franchises and movies. All right, so I'm going to give you some facts on this episode, and then I'm going to get into the details and hear what you think about it. So, some facts I found. This episode features an extensive flashback of Daredevil's origin, which is told for the first time outside of the comics. So this is the first time in any form of TV or movies or anything that Daredevil was featured as far as his backstory is concerned. This is also the first full animated appearance of Daredevil. Matt Murdock was previously featured in Attack of the Arachnoid, which came out in 1983 in the Spider-Man cartoon. He was Matt Murdock, and he came to visit a jailed Spider-Man as his lawyer, and you also see him briefly as Daredevil. So they had him as a little cameo, but never featured in a full episode like he was in this show.
And I'll say right off the bat, the animation in this episode is very funky. Everyone's faces are people's eyeballs are changing sizes as you've seen them talk, and it's all over the place. Except for Daredevil, who looks incredible and super detailed, like all the shadowing on his muscles and stuff. I feel like they're like, right, we're gonna do Daredevil, and they spent 3 weeks just doing the Daredevil scenes. They're like, oh crap, we have to animate the rest of the episode.
Now it's interesting you point out how Daredevil was not messed with in animation, and I'll tell you why. At least from what I've been reading, this episode and the next episode, The Man Without Fear, was intended to be a backdoor pilot for a Daredevil cartoon.
Okay.
The series was put on hold to coincide with
the 2000. Could you imagine that in that era, with stuff like you get writers from get Bruce Timm on there to do a Daredevil show where it's an adult themed show for kids, just like Batman the Animated Series and Spider-Man. That would have been awesome.
You had the Hand involved, and the whole story was Stick. You have all his villains, Bullseye. It'd be great. All of the lawyers' cases. You could have Punisher show up.
I don't know how you do the what's her name? Who's his love interest?
Karen Page.
Yeah. Her heroin addiction. I don't know how you do that, but
well, yeah, I don't think so either. But yeah, this series, the cartoon, eventually was put on hold, and then it was slated to come out in 2003 when Daredevil the movie was coming out with Ben Affleck. However, the movie didn't do great, so therefore the Daredevil series was eventually cancelled.
Oh, what a shame!
Never came to light. Yep.
Where's it? Oh, what a shame!
In this series, Matt Murdock has blonde hair instead of red hair, as we've already pointed out. Daredevil Matt Murdock is voiced by Edward Albert. Now, Edward Albert is the son of Eddie Albert, his father, Eddie Albert. And guess who Eddie Albert is?
No idea.
He's the voice of Old Man Adrian Toomes and the Vulture.
Oh, that's cool.
So his son is doing Daredevil on the same show. Peter Parker being on trial parallels with the story that was going on in the comics at the time during the infamous clone saga called The Trial of Peter Parker, which had been seen as Peter Parker going on trial for multiple murders committed by his clone, Kane.
Oh, that's awesome.
However, in that story, Matt Murdock is not Parker's lawyer because he can't afford Murdock's services. So that's kind of a shitty thing. I would be your lawyer, but you can't afford me. Goodbye.
Yeah.
But that is cool, though. His clone is committing it. And then also, they kind of pay tribute to that a little bit with Chameleon in this.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
And then a few other things. Mark Hoffmeyer, when he came on our show, spoke to us about a note from the studio asking them to remove the horns from Daredevil's costume. Do you remember when he told us?
Yeah.
And the staff working on the episode had to explain to the studio that he was a daredevil, not the real devil, which I think is crazy. And finally, in the comics, Kingpin did not actually kill Jack Murdock.
No, of course not.
In the comics, Jack Murdock was murdered by a wrestling organizer who fixed fights. His name was Roscoe.
Wrestling organizer was connected to the one with Spider-Man as well.
That's true. His name was Roscoe Sweeney, the guy who killed Jack Murdock.
Roscoe Lee Brown.
That's what I was thinking, but was also known as the Fixer in the comics.
Right.
But yeah, that's true actually. Spider-Man's wrestling. It would be cool if it was the same federation that gave birth to Daredevil. All right, so questions for you. What do you think of this episode?
I thought it was better than I thought it was going to be.
Me too. I really enjoyed it, actually.
I did as well. The moment when it started straight away with, like, you know, Peter Parker, you're on trial, and everyone's in there, like, Mary Jane's, like, in tears at one point.
I know, and Thunderstorm and Aunt May's, like, fainting and shit. And he's like, I can't use my spider powers because it will
was just
Aunt
straight. I was like, you have me. It's one of the, you know, it's enticing. It grips you.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's like, what I will always say, like, even though I didn't end up liking the show, I got very bored of it. That Amazon Hunters thing with Al Pacino has one of the best starts to a show I've ever seen that gripped me completely. It's just such a shame that after the intro, it just personally wasn't for me anymore. But that intro of, like, the American guy having a barbecue, and then suddenly, like, this lady freaks out because she realizes the guy doing the barbecue was a Nazi that she knew at a concentration camp, and then he just pulls out a gun and kills everybody. I was like, what is going on? Like, that's how I had a feeling with this. I was like, Peter Parker, like, you're going to jail. I was like, what is going on? I love those type of chaos intros.
Yeah, I agree. I was sucked in immediately, and I was like, oh, I don't know what's happened, but I can't actually wait to find out what's happened to Peter in this episode and see where it goes.
Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite moment or character from this episode?
My favorite moment is a line where
I hope I know what you're going to say.
I'm sure it is. When Daredevil saves Peter Parker and Peter Parker leaves and he sees a bunch of beaten up guys, he's like, whoa, what happened to those guys? And Daredevil just goes, me. I was like, ooh!
I was like, yeah!
I was like, that's badass.
That's badass. Absolutely. I was like, man, Daredevil is so fucking cool. And then he goes up on the roof and he's just like, wait, there's a guy hiding behind there. He's out of breath.
Yeah.
And his heartbeat. And I was like, wow,
I looked at my wife. I was like, "That'd be me." It's like he's overweight and he's out of breath and his heart's racing. I was like, "Oh, you found me, Daredevil."
He's actually not one of the bad guys. He just coincidentally is taking a break on the roof.
I'm just having a smoke break. We're recording a podcast. You want to join?
I love how Peter said, like, you could give my Spidey sense a run for my money. That's what he said.
Yeah.
I thought that was good. What do you think of the look of Daredevil? And Matt Murdock.
Love it. I love the like. Is the suit black? Is it red? Like, I love that type of stuff.
Yeah, he looks really cool. I prefer Matt Murdock having red hair. Definitely, blonde didn't look right in this.
No, it just doesn't look right.
Although he's got a friggin' baller apartment and like dressing.
Well, he should. He's a lawyer.
Yeah, no, that's true. He definitely, it was a very 90s look to it. So you like the opening of this episode then, yeah, with the tension and Peter being sentenced. Yeah, that's cool. So
it almost feels like a film noir as well, like with his narration over it. He's like, I guess I should go back to the start. Like, this is where it happened.
It was, and I was thinking like, oh man, why don't we have more narration in episodes? And I was like, hang on, you idiot. There's narration from Spider-Man all the time, but it just felt different in this episode. It did feel like a film noir. You're right. So Peter says he feels like he stepped into a Kafka novel when he's being taken away by the police. And I was wondering what that was, so I looked it up, and it's a reference to a Prague novelist named Franz Kafka. and his work fuses elements of realism and the fantastic, and typically features isolated protagonists that are faced with bizarre or unrealistic predicaments, and has been interpreted as exploring themes of alienation, existential anxiety, guilt, and absurdity.
Right.
So that's definitely, I from what I know of the writers. Now, I've never met or chatted with Cynthia, but chat with Mark, chat with Brooks. Brooks is very well spoken and very well educated, and I bet you anything that's a Brooks line.
Yeah,
Brooks
but I mean, Spidey's an educated guy, so it's fine for him to say stuff like that.
But that level of like a random a comparison to a novelist.
Yeah.
I was wondering where that came from, and I have a feeling it's Brooks. So I've been watching a lot of murder on trial documentaries recently myself. Documentaries, as you would say. And this instantly reminded me of one. It's like the trial of Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Is he innocent or is he guilty? And the way that Aunt May's crying as Peter's been taken away in handcuffs, I was like, this is just like a crime documentary. This is great. Did you see how empty New York was, though, when they were taking Peter away in that like prison van? There was no cars on the street. You know when it's attacked by the helicopter and he's like taking... There are no fucking cars on the street whatsoever. I was like, what, is everybody at the trial? It's dead. So, do you like the whole like chameleon pretending to be Spider-Man and framing Spider-Man and this whole busting him out?
It was a lot of effort just to like a guy that they're like, and now we're going to lock you in a room where you can't breathe in the next 2 minutes, which is completely impossible. Goodbye.
That's true, but I guess they had to...
Why couldn't they be like, and we like got him on the helicopter and just been like, poof?
They could have killed him.
They could have just like, or they could have just blown up the van he was in, a car bomb.
Yeah, that's true.
He was tied up in the back of a van. They're like, this is a kid's cartoon. We couldn't do that.
I laughed when the helicopter pilot was following the helicopter Peter was in, and the helicopter Peter is in lets out a smoke screen, and the guy just goes, a smoke screen!
Yeah.
Ah!
I cracked up at that too, like, we gotta chase him, boys. Oh no, a smoke screen.
By the way, how Peter Parker does not see the clear belt on Chameleon and know it's Chameleon. He's Spider-Man. He's encountered Chameleon.
I know.
It's like, he's like, I don't know who this imposter is. I'm like, he's wearing Chameleon's belt. It's clear as day.
He's wearing Chameleon's belt. He must have stolen it from the Chameleon.
How did he get my powers? So what do you think about Richard Fisk, Kingpin's son?
Now, let's talk about, is it Richard Fisk?
Richard Fisk.
Me and my wife had a good laugh about this because he's Kingpin's son, right?
Yeah.
With a mullet.
Thank you. I wrote this down. He's got Smythe's mullet.
He's got Smythe's hair. Somehow those two figured out how to have a child. Maybe they did the whole like, we're just both spunk in a petri dish, mix it all up, and who's
It's not a salad.
Who's ever like makes, who's ever has the fastest swimmer makes it. And somehow those sperms like intertwined to make a Kingpin Smythe. Or maybe Kingpin has a sister or Smythe has a sister.
Smythe's figured out like all sorts of stuff in his lab, possibly cloning stuff. I bet he could figure out how to make them a son.
Combine both of our genetics.
And he's like, Smythe, I don't want too many of your genetics.
Smythe. He's beautiful. Look, he has your hair and he has my strength. It's perfect.
Yeah, when I saw that mullet, I was like, he has Smythe's hair.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, and I wonder if like every now and then Wilson's just like combing his son's hair and he's just like, you're such a beautiful boy, just like your father, I mean your mother. Oh man, luscious head of hair, just like your father, I mean your mother, I'm bald, But I love how no one knows he's the Kingpin still. Like when Peter goes to see him and you get that flashback and he's like, this is the guy that
my wife pointed out a good thing where she was like, why is he just cutting the heads off of perfectly good flowers and sniffing them? Like, why can't he just lean down and actually smell them?
Because if he leans down, it's a lot of effort for him, I guess. I don't know. Or maybe
fair point.
He's so rich. He's so rich. He's like, I don't need to lean down. I'll have someone
just like to kill beautiful things.
That's true, actually. He may be like, yeah, if I want beauty, I've got to take it. I've got to take it with force. What did you think about Kingpin's little greenhouse and his gardening hobby?
I loved it.
That was the first time we've seen
it all feels very Maltese Falcon or something like that.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it really does feel film noir, like them going. He's just like, "I have a job for you, Mr. Parker, for all of the thanks I have for you," and setting him up. Did you notice how Kingpin did not look very tall in this scene?
Like, no, I did notice that. Yeah,
he looked like an average fat guy.
He shakes Peter's hand at one point, and they're the same height.
Yeah, he looks. That's what I noticed as well. He looks like just like an average bald fat guy. I was like, that's not a Kingpin. That's like a cosplayer. That's not cool.
That's not cool.
Cosplaying's cool if you like it. Sorry. Just didn't look cool in the show. When Peter's giving like that boring exposition when he's at that rocket launch site, you know, when he goes to where he's being employed by Fisk, he's giving all this fucking boring exposition and all these like words where he's just like, I'm explaining things in the most scientific way possible. And all I could notice was there's one guy in the background who pumps his fist when the rocket's launched. Did you see that guy?
No.
He's just like, the rocket launches and he just pumps his fist in the air furiously. I was like, that guy is so happy.
Yeah!
What do you think of the whole JJ guilt-tripping Peter scene when he quits?
I love it because he's like, oh, you'll come crawling back, and I assume that he probably will.
Yeah, and I also love when he's just like, you can't quit because you're fired!
Yeah.
I love that. It's so good. It's so Vince McMahon, isn't it?
Yeah, oh my god, he is very Vince McMahon.
I laughed so hard when the agents busted into Aunt May's house, and Aunt May just goes, "Oh dear." Like, that's it, Aunt May.
Yeah, the way she said it, I thought she like set it up.
Yeah.
Like when they busted in, I thought she was gonna be like, "I'm sorry, Peter. It's the only way. I just want to make sure you're safe."
Yeah, well,
but no, she was like, "What's going on?"
Yeah, I thought maybe it was the chameleon was Aunt May pretending to be.
Yeah, because she was acting suspicious in that scene.
She was. Yeah, she was really weird in that scene. What did you think of that whole scene where they arrest Peter in Aunt May's house and take him away?
I just love the dialogue being like, "Oh, I can't use my powers."
Yeah.
Because it would upset Aunt May and she could get hurt.
Yeah. Even though she's been upset this whole episode. And I love when she's like, "Well, see what the police have to say about this." And they're like, "We are the police."
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh shit! That's what she said. She's like, "Oh shit!"
It's just this whole episode felt very MCU. Like it felt like a Marvel universe, like a Marvel Cinematic Universe film, because there's all these characters and they all play an important role. It's like you got the Kingpin, you got his son, you got Daredevil, you've got Aunt May being raped.
This could be a great Spider-Man movie to introduce Daredevil into the MCU.
Yeah, I agree. And the next one, he's on the run. So how great would it be? And everyone knows he's Peter Parker. How great would it be if they like adopted this story and had Matt Murdock be his lawyer in the next one and have Daredevil? I think it'd be great. And like bring in Kingpin and shit. Like this is a good story.
Yeah.
So during the prison scene, Matt Murdock says that justice is blind when he's talking with Peter.
Yeah.
Also, that prison scene, they like hold hands at one point
for a very long time.
Way too long. I was like, imagine seeing that scene like outside of a cartoon if it was live action, and people were just like holding hands. You're like, they're a couple. Look at them. They're just like holding hands the whole time.
Yeah.
Talking. Matt Murdock says justice is blind. This saying, justice is blind, comes from the poem Hudibras, which was written by Samuel Butler in 1663. I thought I'd just throw that little fact in there.
Okay.
Convenient little line from Fisk Jr. saying, even your friend Spider-Man couldn't break out of this cell, as he locks Peter away. I was like, okay, so we know he can't use his powers. Thanks for that. It's pretty fucked up that they suffocate their prisoners, don't you think? Like, we're just going to put you in this...
They're like,
seriously.
I don't want the guilt. It's an act of... This is an act of God.
God is in that prison cell. It's so messed up. And think of how many dead bodies they have, like, all around. With, like, the Kingpin comes home and he's like, Dickie, what do you call this? This is another dead body.
No, he goes, yes, more compost for my greenhouse.
And then there's a point where Fisk Jr. says to Chameleon that Chameleon knows something about Peter's parents on the roof. Did you catch that line?
No.
Well, he said, like, surprising what you told me about Parker, considering what you told me about his parents, like, in regard to the country and their role, like, with the government and stuff like that, like, you know, being involved in some espionage of some kind. And I realized...
So is that from the... Is Peter Parker's parents actually like involved in espionage?
I don't know, because you know what, dude? It comes into play later in the show, because that hint pays off way later in the Captain America episodes. That's when Peter finds out all about his parents and like their role with the government and what they had to do with it. So
reminds me of Hey Arnold. It always has. Do you remember in Hey Arnold when he like there's an episode where you find out about Arnold's parents and they're like flying in a plane? Like the beginning of Amazing Spider-Man 2 or whatever, which one it is, where they're in the plane. I'm like, this is Hey Arnold.
Yeah, that is Hey Arnold. You're right. Oh my god. What did you think of the Daredevil roof fight scene when he like broke in and like busted Peter out of the Kingpin prison cell?
Loved it. We already talked about it. It's dope.
Yeah, well, we've talked about like when he's like, what happened to these guys? Me and we see him.
Yeah, but he like turns out the lights. Like this one, I was like, oh, this would be a great show.
Yes, absolutely. Turns out all the lights take them down, but also that's happened in the Affleck Daredevil movie. There's a very similar
it
scene
does.
In a pool hall where he breaks into the pool hall and takes people down, and like you see what his vision looks like and stuff. And I realized, you know why? Because Avi Arad was a producer on that film, and he's just like, well, we did an episode of Daredevil once in Spider-Man the Animated Series. Here, use this.
It makes sense. Like when you think of what Avi Arad did, like he's like, this would be a good way of doing this. Let's test it out in a medium.
Yeah.
And then you do it, and you're like, yeah, that looked pretty cool actually. So let's now bring it to another medium.
Well, he was obviously trying to get the cartoon going to begin with, and then the film happened instead. So, what do you think of the Daredevil flashback scene then?
I thought it was great. Nice seeing Stick and everything, and it seemed fairly true. Besides twisting, his dad working for Fisk and stuff like that. I love the young Fisk.
I know. I was going to say, what do you think of skinny young Kingpin?
Yeah, less large, but still in charge.
Still in charge, but he looked just as kingy pingy as ever with his same suit and cravat and his bald head. I wonder what caused him to gain so much weight. The guilt of killing Jack Murdock?
Just aging. It's just a bitch.
Smythe.
Smythe is a feeder.
He cook. I do love that the last thing Matt Murdock ever saw was his dad committing a crime. He even says like that was the last thing I ever saw.
Yeah.
And I think that's great, like little poetic.
That is cool, yeah.
That's really cool. I also think it's really cool that the creators of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles loves Daredevil so much that the radioactive waste that blinds Daredevil is the same waste that falls into the sewers and creates the turtles.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool. And when I saw that in this episode, I was like, cool! When I saw the waste, I was like, never mind the child being blinded for life, that's gonna give birth to the turtles!
And they're in New York as well.
Yeah, and they're in New York.
I love me some turtles.
So that flashback as well, once again, very similar to the Ben Affleck Daredevil film. Same backstory that he had.
I just realised I wasn't singing the Turtles song there. I was singing the Beverly Hills Cop song.
You were singing the Beverly Hills Cop song.
Save myself embarrassment before that gets pointed out.
Yeah, because the Turtles movie song is... I
think that's what I was trying to sing, but I went to like...
They're very similar. They're very similar. Peter is at one point, like when he climbs out of Matt Murdock's fancy apartment, he's climbing like down buildings and jumping onto buses, and he's in his civilian clothes.
I know. Like, I was like, this is not a good idea.
Everyone's going to see that you're Spider-Man. You're in clear as day. You can see him jumping on a bus and like climbing all over the bus and the buildings. What do you think of the look of Stick in this show?
Pretty accurate.
Pretty accurate, but he kind of looked like someone out of the Matrix as well. Like he looked a bit Keanu.
Yeah, he's got that, like, he always wore this weird, like, almost like Korean military outfit, but also kind of looks like a janitorial outfit at the same time.
Yeah, it looks janitorial as well. Yeah.
But that's how he looks in the book, so that's what I'm.
Yeah, but he's not as young in the books. He's much old. He's depicted as much older in the books. He's quite young.
He's young at that point, which they showed him.
No, I suppose he's younger. Yeah.
Because Matt Murdock's a child there.
Yeah. Another great scene is where MJ defends Peter because her aunt's trashing him. I love when MJ does that. Like when Aunt Anna's like, "Peter's just a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I hate him." And she always says it around Aunt May too.
I know.
Like, Aunt May is like, she's having a fucking hell of a time this episode.
Like our family.
Her nephew's like going to prison and
I'm
stuff.
gonna chat shit right in front of your face.
It's crazy. Did you laugh though when Aunt May was just sitting on the sofa and looked really sad when Aunt Anna's like, she's not okay. Call an ambulance. She looks like so out of it. She looks stoned. Spider-Man makes a reference to a radioactive rat from the sewers in this, which is a nod to Splinter. Yeah.
I missed that. Do you remember exactly what he said?
Well, you know when Peter gets up from under the bus and he like a slug crawls.
I know he's like, I hate sewers. I remember he said that.
Yeah, and he said, "Good thing I wasn't bitten by a radioactive rat. I would be someone like Ratman." And radioactive rat, sewers, referencing Splinter.
Gotcha.
I like how Daredevil thinks Spider-Man is trying to frame Parker in that whole fight scene. Like, that's great. Like,
yeah.
Spider-Man's trying to clear his name, and Daredevil thinks Spider-Man's a bad guy in that whole fight scene. And I love how Daredevil's like outwitting him and his agility and his spider sense. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Do you think the soldiers that interrupt them are like look a lot like the Big Wheel? The same tech. It looked like the same.
A little bit. But one thing, I know I keep mentioning my wife, which she did watch the episode with me. She pointed out, why are all of their visors upside down? And if you look at them, their visors are upside down. It's flat along the bottom and then curved along the top.
Oh,
and
weird.
they look really stupid. And then I just...
Weird.
So if you have any questions later on, like, what did this guy say? I was laughing hysterically during pretty much all of those scenes with the guys that I saw, because their visors are upside down.
Oh shit! I didn't know that. Okay, cool. And then those soldiers also—they're terrible shots. There's one point where they literally surround Daredevil with laser bullets. Like they shoot like I don't know 30 laser shots at him, and it goes around Daredevil. Like it just like forms a shape of his body almost. I was like, how did you miss him?
He's just like, you suck. Even I could shoot that, and I'm blind.
I was gonna say, and I'm blind. Spider-Man and Daredevil get caught up in an explosion as the two guards activate a bomb, and we are left on a cliffhanger as that's the end of the first part of this two-parter episode. And it was a good episode. I'm looking forward to the next one. So that is the end of the episode. All right, you want to get into some sense of whip?
Yeah.
Yeah. More. Come on.
Yeah.
There we go. That's what I want. Okay. So I couldn't find too much in this episode, not like last time where there was like tons of broken glass. But Matt Murdock does say the word radioactive in referring to the chemical waste that blinds him. Once again, that's depicting radioactive waste as something dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's how they got away with it, because obviously it blinded a child. Also, no child in peril. I think Matt Murdock was in big peril.
Yeah,
fucking
that's
radioactive
very true.
Waste. But they did avoid using words like killed or dead. Like when Matt Murdock said, "My dad was never seen again."
Yeah, that's true.
I was like, so he's dead then.
No one's seen him since. That's all I can say.
Actually, I've never seen him since because I'm blind.
Yeah.
Everybody else...
It's like he's just like sees him every single day, and he just avoids his son. He's like, oh.
Yeah, he's like in his apartment.
Yeah.
He comes on. He's like, shit. Crawls around him. Oh, that's funny. And then the final break in censorship I saw was
Foggy.
JJ's...
Is that you?
Foggy. Oh yeah, no Foggy in this episode.
Oh, casting for Foggy, by the way.
Yeah.
The guy who played Samwise Gamgee in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, that's perfect. Love that. Yep, I'm on board with that. The final break in censorship is JJ says, "I sweated blood teaching you this news business" to Peter Parker. So he said, "I sweated blood," and said the word blood, which hasn't been allowed before, especially when we had vampires saying plasma instead of blood. So
that's true.
So that was another break that I saw. Once again, if there are any other breaks that I missed, please let us know. I can't catch them all, and I do try and do as much research as possible.
You can't catch them all. Wiggy, yeah.
Nope, I'm not a Pokemon master. But if you are, and if you can see any other
You're
breaks...
like, broken glass, no punching.
Yeah, but write us at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Oh, God, sorry to interrupt, but I now have the Poke Rap stuck in my head.
Well...
Catch him, gotta catch 'em all. Gotta catch 'em all, Pokemon.
Done.
I want to be the best that ever was.
You don't even have the good theme. You have the
To the test, yeah, that's my cause.
Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all.
That is a good song.
Yeah, it is. All right, but yeah, if I miss things, fuck, you really fucked me up now. You sound
Sorry.
You can write us on Instagram, Twitter, or the other one, Facebook, by keyword searching Spider-Man.
And the rest.
All right, you want to do some friendly neighborhood quiz game?
Yeah.
More oomph.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'm going to do that every time. Want some enthusiasm. All right, friendly neighborhood quiz game. Question 1 for you, and people in the chat, feel free to play along as well. Question 1 for you is: what is the name of the company that Peter is employed by in this episode?
I made fun of it. It's Fisk. It's Electra.
So close.
Fisk. Because I remember when I heard it, I said to my wife, I was like, and I will name the company Fisk. And I was like, right, it sounds just like the word. Oh, what is it?
You're so close.
It's not Electrons, is it? Fiskatrons?
That's so close. You're like Fiskatron. That's in there. It's Fistron.
Fistronics.
Yes, Fistronics.
I remember when I heard that, I was like, that was a stretch, Fisk. Like, you obviously didn't have a PR guy for that. Or not is it PR?
Well, you need a number of different people to come up with a name for a company. PR can be one of them, but PR is all about how you're going to look in the public eye. So.
No, I didn't need the long-winded, wanky answer. I was just looking for the answer of who comes up with the names for stuff.
No, it's not PR. You need a copywriter.
I work in this business, so it actually offends me that you would
Fuck
assume
you!
that.
I have so many times where I will say something, you're like, that's not how a comic book business works. This is how a comic book business works, and let me tell you why.
I didn't say that's how it worked. I asked you who comes up with that, and you were like, well, it's a plethora of people, really. It could be a whole team. I was like, well, no wonder nothing ever gets fucking done at those companies.
Alright, second one. What is Matt Murdock's father's first name?
Oh, Chubby Checker. What's his name?
I said it like 5 times in this episode as well.
I can't. I won't remember.
Alright, I'll give you a hint. You ain't got no future.
Jack.
Thank you. If anyone doesn't know, that's a Batman 89 quote that we just put in there.
You ain't got no future, Jack.
At the beginning of this episode, Peter narrates that life is like a what?
Box of chocolates?
Nope, he does not quote Forrest Gump. Right at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah, he does say something.
Yep, you get the narration right away. And you've got, it has to do with the weather.
Life is like a thunderstorm.
Yep, that's what he said. Green Day says battling Jack Murdock. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What does Peter want lots of? Oh yeah, what does Peter want lots of on his hot dog?
Mustard.
That's right. He's just like, I want mustard, lots of it.
Lots of it.
And then she
look, I'm sorry, that makes no sense because the scene is set up right that he can afford this stuff now. But you can always afford a hot dog. The mustard is not any extra. It's a condiment.
No, it's not. Exactly.
He finds that. He's like, wait, so it's no extra charge for more mustard? They're like, no, it never has been, Spidey. I mean, Peter.
Well, I like also where she pulls a gun at him. He's like, what are you...
that scene...
My cholesterol?
That scene cracked me up. Because it just went from, 2 to 11, in a second. It was just like, here you go, here's your hot dog. Freeze, motherfucker! And she has a shotgun. And she, pulls out of, where they cook, boil the wieners. It was crazy.
Boil the wieners? Boil the wieners.
Isn't that what they do? Don't they boil the wieners?
It just sounded weird coming from you. I don't know. It's just like, that's where they boil the wieners.
Well, they're called wieners, aren't they? The American hot dog.
I know why you're defending it. I just thought it was really funny. It's just like, boil the wieners.
Oh, boil the wieners.
What colour is Matt Murdock's bathrobe?
And then you see what's his name from Iron Fist in the background. What's that smell? Oh, I recognize that smell. Yes. Sticking his hand in the hot water.
Yeah,
right, it burns. Oh, I burn. What is burning? Oh, I remember. I better drink some high-class whiskey. Johnny Walker Red Label. Goodbye.
No, he calls it. What does he call it? He calls it bourbon. It's like that's not bourbon.
Yeah.
That's fucking scotch. That's right. I forgot all. But we used to do that all the time.
What's that? Like I used to fart and be like, "What's that smell? I've smelt it before. A curious smell."
I farted. Yes, I used to do that. I remember
I used
now.
to fart all the time. Wow, it stinks. Oh.
And then what do we used to do? Yeah. Where did he learn how to do kung fu? Remember that?
Yeah.
Where did he learn all... I'm so glad that show's not on anymore.
know.
That show was hot garbage. I'm sorry if people like that show. Fine, I get it. It's your type of thing, but to us, that was the furthest thing from Iron Fist ever. That was like floppy fist. It was such shit.
It was not very good.
No, it was really bad. And also, you got Faramir in that, and he's a great actor, but he was so cheesy and like.
Well, he
comic
wasn't given
book
the
villain.
best
No.
stuff.
All right, final question: what color is Matt Murdock's bathrobe or dressing gown in this?
It's dark, isn't it?
Dark is not a color.
Because underneath it, he had a red shirt.
Yeah, but what color was his bathrobe that he was in his apartment?
Purple?
It was purple. Well done.
Oh.
Well done.
Well, on that note, I just finished my commission.
Oh, great. Well, we've got Daily Bugle Fact of the Day and one other thing, and we'll wrap up as well. So, are you ready to do Daily Bugle Fact of the Day? Give me some oomph.
Yeah, let's get a fact of the day.
Love it. That's what I'm here.
You want to see the commission?
Oh, wow. Yeah, she looks great. So, has that been bought and paid for already?
Bought and paid for, yeah. I've had a huge backlog of commissions. This one was booked weeks ago, so I'm just getting through it now. And
Nice.
The next one I'll be doing is, which actually I might as well just get started on this one. Disco Nightwing.
Nice. All right, fact number 42. In this series, Morbius was given a modern wardrobe update. The version of Morbius wore a black coat over a green shirt and jeans instead of a blue and red spandex like in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
We did already kind of know that, but it's one of the facts nonetheless. So, yeah,
Wait,
I
that
like
was a fact?
That was a fact of the day, yeah.
Wow, what a great fact of the day. The best one.
Do you want another one then?
Yes.
Okay.
Get me with another fact of the day.
Oh, we kind of already know that one too. Oh, okay. I think you kind of maybe already know this, but I'm not sure. Spider-Man, the animated series, and Metal Gear Solid have something in common. Do you know what it is?
They're both really cute.
That's true. David Hayter is what they have to do with each other.
The guy
David
who does Snake Plissken's voice?
Guy who does Snake Plissken's voice.
Oh, wait, no, Snake Plissken is from...
No, yeah, Solid Snake.
Yeah.
The guy who does Solid Snake's voice is also the voice of Captain America.
That's so cool.
Yep, I can't wait to get to those episodes, man.
It's me, Captain America. Like, what?
Yep. And also, Jennifer Hale plays Naomi Hunter in Solid Snake, and she also plays the Black Cat in this, or Felicia Hardy
Naomi
in the
Hunter.
show as well.
Is she from the first game?
I think so, yeah. She does loads of video games, Jennifer Hale. She's in every video game pretty much. She's rocking it. All right, I'm going to do one last segment and then turn to the chat and then we'll wrap it up, okay? So
Okey-dokey.
there's a final segment I've been wanting to do for you with you for a while, which is just called What We Doing With Our Lives, which is basically what we watch. Fuck all, right? So what we watching, what we reading, what we like listening to, whatever.
Okay.
Because we always do like the news and stuff, but there's loads of things that you and I always are watching, reading, talking about with each other. So I figured we could share in this little segment. So what are you doing with your life?
Well, I'm watching Shark Tank from season 1 because I liked the show and I just wanted to see its origins, so that's interesting.
It's a good show.
And then when my wife does some cross-stitching and I'm drawing, we listen to a very good podcast called Last Podcast on the Left, which is 3 guys and they go through loads of things from whole histories about how religions were born to serial killers and their whole story, but they're very funny. Really, really funny, actually. Like, I always cry with laughter in every episode, so I really recommend listening to last podcast on the left.
Okay, cool.
It's something I've said for you to listen to, and you haven't yet.
Yeah, I'll get to it.
Which means he won't.
Anything else, or is that you for right now? Reading anything?
I've been playing some old arcade games. Me and my wife really got into Bubble Bobble. If anyone forgets about that. We're playing Bubble Bobble every day. It's great.
Okay, cool. Well, what I've been doing in my life is looking for a job desperately, pushing Patreon desperately. Other than that, I've been watching the new Umbrella Academy season 2. I know you. I don't think you. Did you ever give that show a go?
I didn't give it a show just because I assumed it would not be for me.
It's fucking great. It's such a good show. I love it. The second season is even better than the first. Really digging it. So if anybody's watching it, I hope you're enjoying it as much as I have been. Because yeah, it's a really good show. I've also been listening to a podcast called Serial, which is one of the most popular podcasts in the world. And the first season was it's all about murder suspects basically. In the first season, there's this very popular case about this 18-year-old that was convicted of killing his girlfriend, and you really don't know if he did it or not. And then now we've discovered there's an HBO show about it as well, so we've been watching that. I've been doing lots of Disney Plus, quite a few Pixar films recently, doing some Marvel films, and I've recently been doing lots of audiobooks, and I'm currently just finishing up a great James Bond book called Forever and a Day, which is all about Bond's first mission ever as 007. Why? Cool. Yeah, and why he got 007 as a number, and there's a really cool scene with the bad guy, like a torture scene that has to do with heroin, and it's such a different way of a torture scene because all the good
inject him with heroin.
Yeah, he basically says, like, I'm not going to torture you, Mr. Bond. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you one taste of this. And by the time we get off this boat, because they're going to America and they're like on a week-long trip, because this is all based in the 50s after World War II, this story. He said, by the time we get to America, I won't need to do anything. You'll be eating out the palm of my hand and begging me. Like, you will be mine. Cool. And I was like, he's going to break him mentally. That's better than any torture. He's giving him an addiction. I was like, that is fucking cool. So yeah, it's really messed up. And
shit, you know my one weakness. I'm very prone to addiction.
Does anybody have any cigarettes?
Whiskey and martinis. I am an alcoholic, and now I'm a heroin junkie.
So yeah, I've been reading that as well. Oh, Piercy said Umbrella Academy is good. You should read the comics, Alex. I should read the comics, and I probably will actually after watching this second season because I really dig it. All right, let's.
I'll tell you one other thing.
Yeah.
We watched this documentary today that was fascinating where they took about 10, 12 British boys from ages like 9 to 12 and they just left them alone in a house with enough food, like beds and everything, and they just filmed them to see what would happen with no adults or anything. And it was absolutely fascinating. It was like watching a Lord of the Flies situation. It was really cool.
Really? Well, like who's going to be the most popular?
Yeah, they chose like who their leaders should be. They like forced one of the kids to do all their washing up. They like blamed one of the kids for destroying loads of stuff. They absolutely destroyed the place. They painted across all the walls. They broke everything. One of this kid like he grabbed like 50 cans of like real Coke and like looked around and they showed him go in his room and he hid it like under his bed. He's like, "This is my real Coke. It's my stash."
Kids suck, man. Like,
oh, they were atrocious.
Shit.
And then we watched.
They suck.
Then there was also one where it was all just girls as well, and the dynamic was so different. Like this one girl like cooked them all like a spag bowl the first night. She was like ordering people to like clean up and it would just. But then there was all this like gossiping and people talking about behind the back. It was absolutely fascinating to just like remove parents and see how these children's live, and watching them try to cook was hilarious. Like one of them set a tea towel on fire and like they tried to make like eggs and chips and failed miserably. So like this one kid was just so upset because all he's been eating, at first she's like, "I'm gonna eat chocolate all day every day, it's gonna be great." And then there's a scene where he's sitting at the table and he's like, "I miss my mum and dad," and he's eating a hula hoop sandwich. It's just which if you don't know in America, it's just a packet of crisps. So he just has 2 bits of bread, With Chris in it, he bites into it. He's like, "I miss my mum and dad."
The lowest of the low. Oh, that actually sounds pretty good. I might check that out. All right, what I'm going to do is I'll wrap up, and we'll sign off, but we'll just go through the chat because for all those that are joining the chat, they've got some questions, so we'll go through those and then we'll sign off on YouTube. But I'll wrap up this episode. If there's anything you want to plug before we head off, now's the time to do it.
If you guys want to get a commission from me like this or like this, then please DM me on my social media or email me at robsonrequest@gmail.com, and a price list will be sent your way.
That's right, and check out him on the interwebs at RobsonINK, INK, as well to see all his work. And you can check us out on the podcast, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Keyword search Spider-Man the Animated Series Podcast. And you can also check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Spider-Man TAS Podcast, because it's a good time. All right, buddy. I think that's all from me. Is that all from you?
Yep. You can do questions in the chat, won't you?
Yeah, but off pod, so I'll sign off here.
Pod. Okay, yeah. Cool. All right. Bye, everybody.
Well, that's all the time we got for this week. Join us next time. We'll continue talking all things Spider-Man the Animated Series. Until then, I've been Alex Robson.
I've been Robson.
And remember, with a great podcast comes great recordability.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Whoa. That's always fun. All right, let's check out this chat. Okay. Let's see. Green Day asks, would you have preferred the Netflix Daredevil suit to have the DD logo at some point in the series?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, me too. I totally agree with that. I felt like that was really missing.
You know, I never noticed it wasn't there though. To be fair.
Really?
I don't think the logo makes Daredevil. It's just this. It's the mask and the horns. If you don't have that, then you're missing stuff.
Green Day was saying this is becoming more of a James Cameron Spider-Man scene with the wieners, the boiling wieners.
That's true.
Green Day asks, what character would you be interested in seeing in a movie done by James Cameron other than Spidey? James Cameron's like making every Avatar under the sun. He's like, I've got Avatar 12 coming in 3 years.
That's like 11 years old. Like I think he's missed the hype for those movies.
Yeah, I don't know what character I want to see.
I liked Avatar when I saw it, but I haven't seen it since I saw it, and I was 19, so same. I don't trust my 19-year-old's opinion anymore. Yeah.
Do you know what? You're going to laugh at me so much right now, and I don't care.
Okay.
But today, I was on YouTube, and I watched this reaction video of someone seeing Cap. They're watching Endgame, and they saw Cap. Like, they've been watching all the Marvel movies, so they reached Endgame, right? And they've been watching every single one for the first time. And they saw Cap grab Mjolnir and, like, celebrate. And they were screaming and chanting and everything. And, dude, that scene just gives me chills every single time. Like, even when I watched someone reacting to it, like, I, like, well up. I really do.
It was dope.
Like, my eyes were welling up.
That is very lame.
Yeah, and then when they all come back, that portal scene, and then he just says Avengers Assemble and the music hits, I get fucking chills, and I'm just like, this is beautiful. I love it.
Oh boy, here we are in the theater seeing the Marvel Universe for the first time ever. All of us at once. Wow. There he is, Captain America, holding Mjolnir. Something I never thought I'd ever see in all my 33 years I've been alive. Oh boy.
Oh god. Yeah, so about that. It was good. I don't know what James Cameron should do for a character. Maybe something like it could be underwater, so maybe Namor, James Cameron Namor. I could see him doing that.
Yeah.
Could you see? Yeah, that'd be good.
Would it be good?
And then we got have you watched a documentary on YouTube called Ice Cream Man? It's really good and funny. I've not seen that.
Nope, never heard of it.
Joshua Ali says, we just watched the Rubik's Cubers documentary on Netflix. Insane abilities. I can't even recall all the multiplication tables. I don't know what Rubik's Cubers is, but that sounds interesting.
I assume it has something to do with the Rubik's Cube?
Yeah, I guess. Piercy said he had to leave, so bye, Robson Bros.
See you, Piercy.
Oh no, he thought the stream was ending. Never mind. And then Scott Holly says, "I'm the same with Endgame. I get goosebumps." See, I'm glad I'm not the only fucking one.
Goosebumps is different than welling up and crying.
That's true. Do you cry, Scott? Because I cry.
That is really sad. That's pathetic. Yeah.
It was not sad.
You're
gives me
33 years old.
It gives me joy, and it like makes me so happy that.
Dude, it's fine. That. Like, we all get emotional over stupid stuff. I got emotional in Eddie the Eagle when he finally like made his dreams, because it made me feel like about my struggle to break into Marvel and stuff. So look, we all do weird stuff.
Rocket Prime says, "I cry in Endgame as well." Green Day thinks he's seen that fan series as well. And Ice Cream Man is a iDubbbz TV. Still not too sure on that, but I'll if it's funny, I will always check out something funny, Piercy. So do you guys have any favorite fan films on YouTube? Green Day asks.
No, the thing I'm watching on YouTube right now is two things that I've recently gotten into. One is called Unus Honest, and it's with this very famous YouTuber called Markiplier, who does a lot of video game stuff. But he created a channel with another YouTuber, and for a year, they're making one video every single day. They've been doing it through all of COVID as well. It's been crazy. Right. And it's one video every single day, and at the end of the year, they're just deleting the whole thing. So it's like, you can only watch this now, and then it's going to be gone. So it's really interesting. And then the other thing is, I've just randomly I just enjoy watching people skateboard now. I think with the hype of the new Tony Hawk game coming out, like, I don't know, I just like watching people skateboard. So I've been watching this channel called Braille House, which is these young guys that all skateboard, and they do fun things where they, instead of playing horse, they play skate. So someone does a trick, and you have to try and do the same trick and all that type of stuff. Yeah, it's fun. And they buy like the worst rated Amazon skateboard, and they try and skateboard on it, and like all this type of stuff. It's fun.
That's great YouTube content, isn't it? It's like testing things out. It's like, lots of people do similar things in different platforms. For me, YouTube, like, I love, which Will introduced me to, is Good Mythical Morning. I watch a lot of that. I love the Mythical Kitchen channel as well. I love seeing people recreate things, like binging with Babish from movies with food. So I do a lot of that. I do a lot of reaction videos, people seeing things for the first time. I do like seeing that. It's interesting, like people seeing Star Wars for the first time now, and they're like never seen Star Wars, giving it a go and hearing what they have to say. And I watched one reaction video recently where this guy watched episode 4 and 5, right? So he watched New Hope and Empire, and then he was recommended by his fans to go back and watch episodes 1, 2, and 3 before watching episode 6.
Okay.
So because in Empire you get the "I am your father," so it's not ruined for you if you go back and watch the prequels. But if you watch the prequels, you get the whole story of Anakin.
He must have known that Darth Vader was his father, though, right?
Yes, he did. Yes, but he's like, I don't know much about the prequels. I just know it's about Darth Vader. So he watched the prequels, and like he was shocked at Order 66, and like he knew Anakin was going to turn and be Darth Vader, but to see it happen, and he didn't know how like graphic the Obi-Wan and like Anakin fight was, that he was like chopped into bits and burnt and all that stuff. But the craziest thing is Padme's giving birth, and they say like it's the robot says it's twins, and the guy's like, what? Luke has a brother? And they're like, it's a girl. And then they say Leia, and he's like, what the fuck? And he had no idea because he hadn't watched Return of the Jedi, so he had no idea Luke and Leia were brother and sister. So he's like, his mind was blown. It was like, that was "I am your father" moment for him, right? Because he's like, I had no idea they were brother and sister. He's like, that's one of the mess with me.
As much as I love the original trilogy, that's my least favorite thing about the original trilogy, is the forced narrative that, by the way, Leia is Luke's brother. For some reason, it's just never worked for me personally. Right. And like, it's just like that scene where he's like, I gotta tell you something. She's like, it's okay, I know. I'm like, this does not feel natural at all. Like, there was no hints of it besides just Yoda saying something. Like,
if you could explore it more, which they tried to do in like Last Jedi and stuff, a bit more with like them being brother and sister and being connected. But I mean, it would have been so much better if you saw like Kylo Ren and Uncle Luke, you know what I mean, and like Leia's Kylo's mum, and like you see that whole family dynamic and the Force. That would have been really great. They never showed any of that shit. I agree. It's okay.
It's just something that doesn't really resonate with me. Like,
Yeah.
I just think, like, every time I'm reminded, like, I'm like, oh yeah, she's Luke's sister. I'm like, oh, okay. I thought she was awesome character by herself.
Yeah, but to answer the fan film question on YouTube, I've seen. Green Day even said I suggest Peter's Web. I haven't seen that, but I've seen the Batman Chronicles, both fan films. I loved Dead End, where it was Batman versus Predator and Alien and shit. That film came out years and years ago, but it was
That
great.
came out a long time ago.
Yeah, but it was.
That
It's
came
still.
out in like the early 2000s.
Yeah, it did, but it's when I went to uni, so
Yeah.
it came out in 2005. Yeah, and it's fucking great. Have you like? I watched it again like a year or so ago, and I was like, this holds up. This is great. Looks really good. And Batman's like, he looks like Batman from the comics. He looks great.
I remember I liked the Joker makeup. I like how they went above and beyond with it.
Yeah, it's good. Piercy asks, have you read Rhett and Link's book called The Lost Causes of Bleak Creek? I haven't
I
yet.
have not.
So yeah, the incest doesn't feel natural either. Scott Holly said that's true. Yeah, the YouTuber guy that watched it, he's like, and I've been championing for Luke and Leia this whole fucking franchise, and now I find out they're brother and sister. He's like,
Oh, really?
gross. Yeah, because he didn't like Han Solo at all. He's like, I don't like Han. He's a prick. He's like,
No,
Luke and Leia.
Han's really, like you said when you saw it recently, like the way he forces himself on
He's
Leia.
proper rapey.
Yeah.
I love Han Solo. Don't get me wrong.
And
But
you know
there's
what?
that scene.
I've never been. Han Solo does nothing for me.
Really.
Yeah, it never has. I never liked the character that much. I don't dislike him.
He's a pirate. It's like I like him, but yeah, the scene with him when they're hiding out in the Millennium Falcon.
Star Wars to me is those original ones. It's all about just the world building and the Empire. I'm a huge Empire fanboy.
Yeah, I know you are. All right, so that's our chat, and you're doing a whole new commission now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm nearly done with the final links on it.
Well, we're gonna wrap up now because I'm gonna go and I've got to edit this episode, and this episode will be going live on all the podcast platforms tomorrow, guys.
Okie dokie. Well, thank you very much for joining us for the past, nearly 2 hours.
Yeah.
I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll be back, I think, probably tomorrow to finish this off.
Cool.
So catch me outside tomorrow. Yeah, I'll be doing
Catch
it.
me outside. You need a little script. You need a sign off for your YouTube.
Catch me outside. How about that?
I don't think that's gonna fly.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. Again, if you'd like a commission from me, please email me at robsonrequest@gmail.com or DM me on any social media. And go follow at STAS Podcast on the social medias to follow my brother and stay up to date on everything to do with the podcast. Yada, yada, yada. Yeah. Goodbye.
Pretty good. Bye, guys.
Bye.